In the previous video, we talked about lists and how we can use lists to carry multiple pieces of information on a given person or on a given group of people, like the student example that we used in the last video. And we can also use another thing called a dictionary in Python. And a dictionary allows us to also store multiple pieces of information in the same variable on some entity or some person. So in this example, I'm going to use a person as the example. So I'm going to name my variable Ryan because this is going to contain information on me. And in our list example, we used 2 square brackets, but when we use a dictionary, we use 2 curly brackets. So we're going to open up our curly brackets and then we're going to type in whatever we want to store on me. So the first thing we probably want is my name. So to do this, we put down our 2 quotes, or you can use single quotes, and say whatever it's going to be. So name is going to be the piece of information that we're going to store. And then we're going to do a colon. And now we're going to type in the actual information. So my actual name, which is Ryan. So I'm going to put Ryan in here. And I'm going to actually capitalize the or so that you don't get confused by our variable, which is called Ryan, and then our name, which is Ryan. But this one here has a capital or. So after our first attribute, we're going to go and put in a colon, and then we're going to go on to the next line, and we're going to put in something else. So we're going to put in age. So after age, we're going to put in a colon, and then we're going to put in my age. But we're not going to put this in quotes like we did the last time. We could, and we could store my age as a string, but we're just going to store it as an integer. So I'm going to say 25, and I'm going to put in another comma, and I'm going to go on to the next line, and I'm going to put in height. And I'm going to follow that by a colon, and then I'm going to type in my height. So I'm going to say 182, and we could put a decimal to this, so 0.5. And now what we can do is we can print out some of this information using our dictionary that we've just created. So if I was to say print, and I was to use this name here, Brian, and I was to run this, we can see that I haven't actually defined my variable correctly. So I forgot to set it equal to all this information here. So if I go and run this again, we can see all this information getting displayed. So we've got our name, we've got our age, we've got our height. Similar to when we printed out our list, it was all on one line. It had quotes, and it had, in the list example, we had round brackets, but we have curly brackets included here. So it doesn't look that pretty. So what we can do is we can access individual items from this. So to do this, we don't actually do the exact same as the previous video when we're using lists. So we don't put in our square brackets and the number 1 like this. You can see if we try this, we get an error. But what we actually do is we put in whatever this first name or this first value is. And we call these key value pairs. So you can think of this name here as a key. So the name is the key, and the value of this key is Ryan. You can think of age as the key and 25 as the value. You can think of height as the key and 182.5 as the value. So if we wanted to get my age, we'd put in 2 quotation marks and then age. And if we were to run this, then we'd get the number 25. And this also works for our other keys as well. So if we wanted to type in the name, we'd hit run, we see Ryan. And if we wanted to go and use the height, we just replace that with height, and we can see our height.